Nelson Piquet Jr. crashed a Formula One car on purpose. He staged a race, a real Grand Prix, like a puppet show. That alone should have been the end of his career, yet somehow it wasn't. 2008 Singapore Grand Prix, the first ever night race in F1 history. Lights blazing, cameras rolling, millions of eyes glued to the circuit. On lap 14, Piquet's Renault hit the wall hard. The safety car came out. Commentators called it a rookie mistake, but it wasn't. It was orchestrated, deliberate, a strategic move designed behind closed doors in a team meeting. Piquet wasn't just following racing orders. He was obeying a script written by people with no fear of consequence. His crash allowed teammate Fernando Alonso, who had already pitted earlier than expected, to leapfrog the grid. Alonso won the race. The entire plan worked to perfection, and for a while, no one knew. Piquet kept quiet. The team celebrated. The fans never questioned it. But things fell apart a year later, not because someone came clean voluntarily, but because Renault dropped Piquet. They discarded him like expired merchandise. And that's when he snapped. He told the FIA everything. He exposed the plot. Named Flavio Briatore, Pat Simons, laid it out in perfect detail. And the pressure, the setup, the emotional manipulation. A young driver, desperate to keep his seat, coerced into playing demolition derby with his own future. The world expected bans, lawsuits, arrests. But here's what actually happened. Briatore got a suspension that was later overturned. Pat Simons took a temporary fall and came back into F1. And Piquet, he got immunity. No suspension, no legal action, no loss of racing license. He committed what in any other context could have been classified as endangerment, maybe even attempted manslaughter. But he walked away clean. And within a few years, he was back in professional motorsport. Because in Formula One, if you crash for strategy and the right people benefit, you don't get exiled, you get rebranded. James Hunt punched a marshal in the face on live television and got away with it, not just legally, but historically. That's how deep the myth of racing character runs in F1. 1977 Canadian Grand Prix, early laps. Hunt's car was taken out in a collision. Furious, he stormed out of the wreckage and made a beeline for the pits. A track marshal tried to redirect him for safety reasons. Standard procedure, but Hunt didn't care. He turned around and decked the man, full swing, on live camera, in front of thousands in the stands and millions watching at home. The FIA issued a fine, around $2,750. Nothing else. No race ban, no suspension, no criminal investigation. The media? They spun it as passion. A champion who wears his heart on his sleeve. Headlines praised his raw spirit. But if anyone else, anywhere else, had punched an event official during a live sports broadcast, they'd be arrested before the commercial break ended. Not James Hunt. Because Hunt had something stronger than talent. He had branding, charisma, that wild, devil-may-care attitude the sport wanted to sell. So when he got drunk and brawled in South Africa later that year, the authorities turned it into gossip instead of charges. When he sped through London, or raged at paparazzi, or caused scenes in airports, and it became character development for his legend. He was what the sport wanted to sell. And in F1, if your chaos looks good on a poster, they'll rewrite every crime as charisma. Eddie Irvine didn't punch one person. He was involved in multiple bar fights across Europe. But no matter how many headlines popped up, he remained Ferrari's golden boy during Michael Schumacher's injury in '99. Because what mattered wasn't his fists, it was his points. One infamous incident, a Milan nightclub, 2008. Reports said he assaulted a man, breaking the guy's nose. There were police, there were medical records, there were witnesses. But the case? Mysteriously shelved. No formal charges, no suspension from punditry, no comment from Ferrari. And when the court finally sentenced him, years later into 6 months in prison, it was a suspended sentence. That means technically guilty, practically untouched. He served no time, gave no public apology. Instead, he walked red carpets, gave race analysis on TV, and smiled like a man who'd never stepped inside a courtroom. In Formula One, image management is stronger than court rulings. Juan Manuel Fangio was kidnapped at gunpoint in Havana. Armed rebels stormed into his hotel room the night before the Cuban Grand Prix in 1958 and took him hostage. It wasn't a joke. These were real revolutionaries protesting Batista's corrupt regime. Fangio, F1's most iconic name, was their leverage. He was kept overnight, guarded by men with rifles. And when the sun rose, the race happened anyway. Yes, despite a global star being kidnapped hours earlier, the organizers went ahead with the Grand Prix. During the race, a Ferrari crashed into the crowd, killing 7 people. That should have ended F1 in Cuba forever. It should have launched investigations into security failures, gross negligence, and political recklessness. But instead, it became trivia, a wild "did you know?" story told during broadcasts. Fangio was treated respectfully by his captors, they say. He came back unharmed, they say. They don't say that the sport ignored every red flag and chose spectacle over safety, that even death and kidnapping couldn't stop a race. Because when profit's on the line, F1 will keep the show running, no matter who's bleeding off stage. Bertrand Gachot didn't crash a car. He didn't sabotage a team. He didn't hurt anyone on the track. But what he did off it ended his F1 career and accidentally launched a legend. 1991. Gachot was racing for Jordan, a midfield team with ambition and fire. He was aggressive, skilled, and finally proved proving himself. Sponsors were circling, paddocks were buzzing, until London traffic flipped the script. He got into an argument with a taxi driver. Over what? Nobody remembers. What they remember is that Gachot, panicked or provoked, pulled out a canister of CS gas, tear gas, illegal in the UK, sprayed it directly into the cabbie's face. The courts didn't blink. They sentenced him to 18 months in prison for assault with a banned weapon. Real jail time. Not a fine, not a warning, a prison cell. And just like that, Bertrand Gachot went from title hopeful to inmate overnight. Jordan scrambled. They needed a driver for the upcoming Belgian Grand Prix. No one expected what would come next. A 22-year-old German kid named Michael Schumacher was thrown into the car. He qualified 7th, and history forgot Bertrand Gachot. Because in F1, prison isn't what buries you. Irrelevance is. Adrian Sutil was a quiet guy. No scandals, no headlines. Until one night in Shanghai 2011 when champagne turned into blood. He was out celebrating. A nightclub full of F1 insiders, VIPs, sponsors, team executives. Lotus executive Eric Lux bumped into Sutil. Words were exchanged. What was said is still debated. What's not debated is what Sutil did next. He picked up a champagne glass, smashed it, and sliced Lux across the neck. It wasn't a scratch. It was a deep, jagged wound. 1 inch closer and Lux wouldn't have made it to the hospital. The man who once quietly maneuvered a midfield car around Monaco had just committed felony assault in front of witnesses. In Germany, Sutil was convicted of grievous bodily harm, a real conviction, a court ruling, a criminal record, but no jail. He got 18 months, suspended, meaning no time served, €200,000 fine, and within 2 years he was back in a Formula One seat. No rehab, no public apology, no career damage. The paddock welcomed him like nothing had happened. Why? Because he was fast, and sponsors don't care what your rap sheet says if your lap time is clean. Lewis Hamilton, 7-time world champion, global icon, activist, record breaker. But in 2010 in Melbourne, even he wasn't immune to the wrong kind of spotlight. He was caught doing illegal burnouts and fishtailing in a Mercedes IC63 AMG on a public street, not a closed road, not a private event, a live open road in the middle of the city. Police pulled him over, impounded the car, charged him with improper use of a motor vehicle. In Australia, that's serious. Reckless driving, potential loss of license, even jail. But Hamilton walked out with a minor fine and a brief apology. He called it a silly mistake. The press accepted it. Mercedes downplayed it, and the incident faded into the noise of podiums and trophies. No courtroom, no trial, no real consequence. When you're the face of a billion-dollar brand, the punishment isn't prison. It's a press release. Nigel Mansell. Fierce, unpredictable, revered, but also reckless. Oh, not just behind the wheel, but on public roads. Throughout the 80s and early 90s, Mansell collected more speeding tickets than some drivers did podiums. In one reported case, he was clocked doing over 140 miles per hour on a UK motorway. That's borderline jail time in the UK. He also had a hit-and-run allegation after allegedly striking a cyclist near his estate. The man survived. Police arrived. But once the identity of the driver was confirmed, the case dissolved into a puff of red tape. No charges, no follow-up. Mansell continued racing, smiling, waving at crowds, his mustache hiding every bit of damage he'd left behind. Because in F1, legacy always speaks louder than lawsuits. Kimi Raikkonen is worshipped like a cult icon, the Iceman, the Enigma, the last of the old-school drivers. But behind the charm and silence lies a trail of alcohol-soaked incidents that would have burned down any other athlete's career. Gran Canaria, 2005. A luxury hotel, a private suite, a public embarrassment. Kimi, reportedly intoxicated, was found naked in the hotel lobby fountain. Arms spread wide, laughing, water splashing as security scrambled. It wasn't a rumor. There were witnesses, and yet no police reports, no team reprimands, no media explosion. The story became a meme, because when you're Kimi Raikkonen, everything turns into a punchline. The same year, stories circulated of him passing out at bars, throwing up in VIP sections, and getting into altercations with staff. Not once, but multiple times. There were rumors of damage payments made privately, hushed calls between managers and local police, but again, no suspensions, no bans, no consequences. Because Kimi was fast, and fans adored his I don't care attitude. In a sport where image is everything, Kimi's image, wild, aloof, unpredictable, became his shield. What would have been criminal if done by anyone else became character if done by him. He didn't get away with it because he was clean. He got away with it because F1 needed him to be dirty in exactly the right way. Nikita Mazepin didn't have charisma. He didn't have race wins. What he had was money, and that bought him silence. In December 2020, before he had even completed a single race in Formula One, a video surfaced on his own Instagram account. In it, Mazepin groped a woman in the backseat of a car. She clearly pulled away. He smirked, laughed, uploaded it, and the internet erupted. The backlash was immediate and deafening. Hashtags like "We say no to Mazepin" trended worldwide. Fans, journalists, even sponsors demanded action. Everyone expected Haas to drop him, to show that F1 had evolved. Instead, Haas released a single tone-deaf statement. The matter has been dealt with internally. No suspension, no fines, no apology from Mazepin. Not a real one anyway. Just a forced post that felt more like a corporate hostage note. He raced the full 2021 season. Every weekend, his presence reminded viewers that performance had nothing to do with morality. The man was consistently last on the grid, spun out on straight lines, crashed during formation laps. But none of that mattered. His father, Dmitry Mazepin, was a Russian oligarch pumping millions into the team through Uralkali. The car was wrapped in the colors of the Russian flag. It wasn't racing, it was politics. Only when Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022 and the world turned on Russian money did Haas finally sever ties. Not for the assault, not for the video, but because war makes even money radioactive. Mazepin's exit wasn't justice. It was timing, and Formula One didn't clean house. It just moved the mess off camera. Sebastian Vettel is one of the sport's most respected figures. Intelligent, thoughtful, a four-time world champion who transformed into an activist late in his career. But in 2019, he quietly ran afoul of Japanese law. After the Suzuka Grand Prix, local police detained him for ignoring race marshal instructions while exiting the track. It was a violation of circuit safety protocol, something Japanese law takes extremely seriously. In Japan, disobeying an official carries potential criminal liability, and Vettel, like a foreigner, could have faced significant legal issues, but the matter disappeared. No formal charge, no detailed statement, just a line in the media. Vettel questioned by Japanese authorities. Then silence. The next race weekend, he was back, joking with reporters, no questions asked, no apologies given. Another shadow tucked under the massive blanket of F1's PR machine. Because even when clean-cut drivers trip, the sport makes sure the lights never flicker. But no one in the history of Formula One exposed the fragility of justice quite like Ayrton Senna. Nitin Suzuka, the most infamous title decider in motorsport history. The context was loaded. The year before, Senna had been disqualified at Suzuka after clashing with Alain Prost, a decision widely seen as political. The FYA president at the time, Jean-Marie Balestre, was French. Prost was French. Senna was convinced the title was stolen. So when the 1990 rematch came around, same rivals, same circuit, same corner, Senna didn't hesitate. Turn 1, lap 1. Prost had the inside line. Senna didn't lift. He drove full speed into the side of Prost's Ferrari at over 200 kilometers per hour. Both cars out. Senna was world champion. The crash was premeditated. A year later, Senna admitted it. He said, "If they can take it away from me like that, then I will take it back the same way." That's not racing. That's revenge. That's weaponizing a Formula One car. By all logic, he should have been banned. At the very least, penalized. Instead, he was celebrated. His title stood. His legacy grew. Because Senna wasn't just fast, he was a martyr, a myth, a marketing machine. And when he died tragically at Imola in 1994, that moment of deliberate sabotage was recast as misunderstood genius. Romanticized, buried in tribute. In F1, death doesn't just erase sins. It canonizes them. Every sport has scandals, but Formula One doesn't hide its darkness. It reframes it. It turns nightclub assaults into passion, illegal stunts into youthful mistakes, pre-planned collisions into racing instincts. It lets men walk away from courtrooms and straight onto podiums. Because here, accountability isn't dictated by law, it's negotiated by power. If you're fast enough, rich enough, valuable enough, you don't pay the price. You get a Netflix series, you get immortality, and the fans, they cheer anyway.